The following are the words of Lou Civello, president of the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association.
Police officers risk their lives to protect our communities and keep our streets safe. These officers are the thin blue line that stands between your family and the criminals that would do them harm. We are your neighbors, protecting your neighborhood. Hold the line. Support law enforcement. Stand with the Suffolk County PBA.
The following radio show is live, except for the announcement you're hearing right now.
Welcome back to Your Island Live with your host, Tom Schiliro, on 103.9 LI News Radio.
And once again, welcome back. Moving right along, Tuesday edition. Lots to talk about, folks. And as you know, every other Tuesday we have with us good friend of the program, good friend of Suffolk County. Let me tell you something. Lou Civello, who's the president of Suffolk County PBA. And many of you write in and say, well, I really didn't know what a PBA does and how important it is to really public safety in Suffolk County. And the mere fact it's more than just a bargaining unit. It's well past that in terms of making us safe here. And also to bring out the issues. Many times Lou Civello and his group will go up to Albany and talk about some of the legislation that's happening up there, legislation that is causing high crime rates and higher levels of victimization. You've heard it from me many times. And today is no different. People are going to the polls. It's primary day, and I want to talk about one specific race. But let's say hello to Lou Civello. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Tom, doing very well. Great to be with you. Always
a pleasure. Let me tell you something. I keep thinking of the second Jaws movie, and they had an advertisement just when you thought it was safe to go back in, right? And after Donald Trump gets elected, I'll say, all right, now maybe things are going to change around and so on. I keep thinking of that. Just when we thought it was safe, along comes the New York City mayor's race. Along comes Zohran Mamdani and his platform. And it's almost like no one noticed that we're in a different era right now. The people like the police. They want the police to do their job. They want the hiring of more police. And indeed, if you look at most of the mayor's candidates, and there's a whole lot of them in New York City, they're all talking about hiring more cops. Now, this guy, maybe I call him a clown, but I shouldn't. I mean, he's a young man. He's in his early 30s, a member of the state assembly. But he's out of it. The man is out of it. I'm going to read some of the things that he's saying. I saw some interviews, and I'd like for you as a police professional, as someone who knows the issues and knows what's good for the cops is good for the people and how important that is. First of all, he starts off by saying NYPD should be removed specifically from high crime areas. Let's take it one step at a time, Lou Civello. That's the first thing. And then it gets worse. It gets worse. And the reason I bring this up, and then I'm going to let you go, is we have Brandon Johnson in Chicago, and then keep flying to the west, and then you've got Karen Bass over there in Los Angeles. These are not friends of public safety, i.e. the police. They're not friends of their constituents. Their constituents are being victimized, particularly in Chicago, which is an absolute mess. The man has a 7% approval rating. And now here in New York, where we think we're a little bit more commonsensical, although I really shouldn't say that, there's a mayor's race right now where this guy, I wouldn't bring his name up. The mere fact, though, he's running right up there with Andy Cuomo, who everybody thought was going to win. So let's start with removing, and I almost feel embarrassed to say this to you, but I have to, because this man is saying this, and you are good friends with the NYPD and their PBA, how hard those folks work, and how all you guys work together for the betterment of our police and the betterment of our communities. He thinks point number one should be removed specifically from high crime areas. Lou, what do you say?
Oh, it's insane, Tom. I mean, the Jaws metaphor, very apropos, because you would have a bloodbath if you were to remove police from high crime areas. Think about how ridiculous that is. Probably as ridiculous as shutting off fire hydrants in places that are prone to wildfires, right? Like they did in California. Yeah. This is what you get when you elect a fanatic. And this individual is a fanatic, not someone that cares about public safety, not someone that even cares about common sense. Because it would be insane to remove police officers from the places that they are needed most. And I think, again, the Jaws metaphor, very apropos, just thinking about woke politics in general and what's going on with ICE, right, across this state. I turn on the local media, Tom, and it's almost like a Jaws sighting, where ICE was seen here and ICE was seen there. And you're putting these federal law enforcement officers and local law enforcement at risk every time you do this, because it's almost like you're trying to incite violence, like you're trying to incite a flash mob. Why are we posting every time that, no surprise here, ICE is doing what they've been tasked with doing, which is getting violent felons off the street, people that are in the country illegally, people that are breaking our laws, MS-13 members of these, ultra-violent international gangs. So, again, and I've spoken to the police commissioner about this, and he's assured me that if any ICE officer calls for help, that we are never, no matter if it's a federal officer or local officer or any police officer for that matter, we are never going to ignore an emergency call for help from a fellow law enforcement officer. So that was very reassuring to hear. And again, I think it's a great fault of the media, and it's very reckless of them to keep doing this and to demonize. You know that assaults on ICE officers have gone up over 400% since this all began. So absolutely disgraceful and disgusting. And if you want to see more of that, well, then elect this socialist over in New York City as mayor, because it's going to be horrendous. I traveled, Tom, I can tell you, last year, out to NAPO to meet with fellow law enforcement union leaders from L.A. And from across the country. And one of the things that struck me was just how horrible L.A. is. When you think L.A., Hollywood, you think glitz, glamour. It is like the zombie apocalypse. I mean, crime, homelessness everywhere. I remember going to the downtown to a local restaurant where you think it would be, a nice place to spend an evening. And 6 p.m., Tom, I go and I go to open the front door of the restaurant to walk in, and the door's locked. What is this? All of a sudden, the maitre d' comes over, unlocks the door, allows you to come in, and then locks the door behind you. And I said, why do you do that? Oh, we can't leave this door unlocked. We'd have homeless in here. We'd have, people getting robbed. We have to lock. And then when you leave, when you finish your meal, they lock the door behind you. And you have to think to yourself, Tom, who wants to live that way? Do we want to live that way? Do they want to live that way over in New York City? Because that's what's coming if you elect this individual mayor. So I would hope that people are waking up there and, cast their ballot in a better direction, hopefully in the direction of a moderate somewhere, because I don't think, quite frankly, that Cuomo is any better.
Yeah, well, it's just scary. I have a few other things that he said that you as a professional and myself as somebody with a criminal justice background. I mean, I used to teach criminal justice at the local Suffolk Community College, and we used to get some great young men and women very much interested, a rational approach to how to make people safe. But when I look at something like this, one of his proposals, your thoughts, he wants to turn the subway into a network of homeless shelters. Your thoughts?
A disaster. It would make it an absolute nest for crime, and you would see subway crime skyrocket if you were to do that. So, to house people, first of all, it's inhumane in and of itself. The conditions in those subways are dismal as it is. It's not sanitary. And you're going to turn it into something out of a apocalyptic movie. The right thing to do with homeless people is to get them the resources that they need, get them the mental health resources, because a lot of these people are mentally ill. We should have never deinstitutionalized many of these people, and get them the long-term resources that they need to live a fulfilled life, instead of shoving them in a subway where it's inherently dangerous, where you have millions of commuters coming in and every day, in and out, and you're going to make it more dangerous for them. You're going to see more slashings. You're going to see more people pushed in front of trains. Again, just one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And the fact that it's coming out of the mouth from an individual who could be the next New York City mayor is absolutely shocking.
If it wasn't for the polling and the fact that when he first started out, he was at 3%, I wouldn't even be talking to you about this. But this guy scares the heck out of me. All right, let's get into his concept of policing. Again, talking about the fact that he wants to. All right, let me give you his exact words. I'm going to quote him. I absolutely think that what we need to do is give support and funding to institutions that are trained to deal with these kind of issues, the issues of crime and disputes on the street, domestics, and so on. As you said, if you're having an argument with someone and there's a risk of it escalating, who is better? I have to stutter when I talk. Who is better positioned to de-escalate it? Someone who is well known in the community, or someone who has been trained specifically in de-escalation? Or, here's the cops he's talking about, a stranger who has a gun. Now, first of all, how would somebody have a perception that policing is all about the carrying of a firearm? The firearm is only a mere tool on what police have. I remember going to the Suffolk Police Academy. The best tool you had was your brain and your ability to ascertain situations and then teaching you the proper techniques. His attitude is that we'll use the social workers, the people that are trained in de-escalation, not understanding what policing's all about, not understanding what the streets are all about. Forget about policing, what the streets are all about. And that when the police arrive, the tension rises astronomically, this is his words, to what it was before the police got there. You know, I wanted to say that, and I think it's important to say that because I want people to listen. This thinking, folks, this thinking is out there, that it's what we've heard this before. You've heard this from Jasmine Crockett and AOC. The cops are the problem. The cops are the problem. I almost, like I said, I'm embarrassed to say that because it's so stupid and it's so out of place and it's so dumbfounded. It makes us dumber to hear that. But now you got a guy that is about as close as you can be to winning the Democratic primary. And if that happens, he then becomes the mayor of New York City. How do we fight against that, Lou? I mean, this is all, if you have one DNA, this is another DNA. I don't know what else to say, but basically saying the presence of the police increased the tension. It's sickening.
True. I mean, he's just showing a stunning level of ignorance when it comes to policing. So police are experts in their field. We are experts in de-escalating. The problem is that we go to situations that are so volatile that if you sent a social worker by themselves, you're going to get that person hurt or killed. And you know, that's been proven. There's a reason that the whole defund the police movement became so toxic, because they tried some of these things in the most woke places in the country, and they were abject failures, right? It's you're playing with people's lives here. You have a violent domestic. You have a mentally ill homeless person that's out of control. That social worker is calling the police, plain and simple. You need us there. We are experts in what we do. We are the best suited to do these things. And to say otherwise, again, it's been proven false. There's a reason that the Democratic Party has run as far and as fast as they can from that defund the police movement, because it has been a failure. And to try it again in New York City is only going to result in more carnage.
Well, he says when people make, sometimes I got to laugh. When people make mistakes, the answer is not to throw them in jail. So let's say they carjack you at knife point, slash you up a little bit and take your car. Yeah, that's a mistake. I should have never carjacked that nice person, that nice little old lady from Pasadena, and maybe cut her up a little bit. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't be in jail. Folks, this guy is saying this stuff. I'm reading off of an interview that he did, and he goes along with that point of view. And then, of course, what would an interview be with Mamdani without a little racism? We got to throw a little racism in there. He basically said, it's not like policing in white neighborhoods. White neighborhoods have everything. How do you react to that, Lou?
That's a disgusting statement. That is in and of itself a racist statement. This is somebody who is morally bankrupt, and that's why they don't understand, Tom. This is a guy who doesn't believe in the concept of good and evil, and that's why he can, with a straight face, say, yeah, if I slash somebody and take their car, that's just a mistake, right? Whoops. No, there are evil people in this world who do evil things, and if you don't lock them up, if you don't take some sort of corrective action, they will continue to do evil things. Again, this is a person who does not have the value system that most people have. This is somebody on the fringe. This is a fanatic. This is not somebody that we should be putting into the highest elected office in New York City. It's going to be a disaster for New York City. It's going to be a disaster for Long Islanders who commute to New York City or go into New York City to both work and play. It's going to make New York City more than a disaster than it already is. And again, I just encourage everyone to do whatever it is that they can to do. If you live there and you are a registered Democrat, vote. And certainly the general election, when hopefully there is a better option, vote. Yeah.
When you characterize police, that's just a stranger with a gun. You and I are going to set the record straight right now. We have one of the best training facilities, I think, locally. I mean, Nassau's good one, Suffolk's good, of course, in New York City. What is it, 25 weeks now? Did it go up even higher than that? As far as the training itself, I believe it's all encompassing. From what I remember, and I went through a long time ago, and I walked away saying, boy, did I get some training, did I learn, and now I could put it into practice and so on. But today it's probably even more intricate in going through the training. So it's not a stranger with a gun. I said this, being a police officer, you have to be a psychologist, a sociologist, a criminologist. You've got to be able to do that, and you better do it damn well. And our cops do it damn well when it comes down to this. And this individual for saying something like this is just terrible. What kind of training? Let's just put it out there to the folks to see what it takes to be, let's say, Suffolk County police officer.
Oh, Tom, it's an incredible amount of training. There's the breadth and the depth of the training that our officers get is second to none. So we are experts in firearms. We are experts in police tactics. We are experts in de-escalation, experts in defensive tactics, driving, our EVOC training, which is our police car training, learning to drive in stressful and volatile situations. Sociology, where we do a level of social work. We are EMTs here in Suffolk County, where we spend weeks training, getting that emergency medical technician certification so that we can give that life-saving care to people when they've had a medical emergency. So, we spend months when we first get on the job of training in the police academy itself, learning everything from how to defend yourself, how to take somebody down and use the minimal amount of force possible, all the way to learning the nuances of the law. The penal law and the CPL are incredibly complex documents, and you have to know them backwards and forwards before you step foot out of that academy. In addition to that, you spend another 8 to 12 weeks in field training, where you're basically on the job learning with a police officer who's been on the job for a number of years. And you keep training throughout because we keep recertifying in firearms. We keep recertifying in some of our defensive tactics, et cetera, as we go through our 20 or 30-year careers. So there's an incredible amount of training that goes into it. And I compare us to the iPhone sometimes, Tom. When Steve Jobs was asked about the iPhone and why it cost so much, it was, well, look at what it's replaced, right? It's replaced that computer on your desk. It's replaced the calculator that you might have carried in your pocket. It replaced the camera that you used to carry around. It replaced that television that used to be on the wall. Well, police officers are the same way. Yeah. We do the jobs of psychologists. We do the jobs of criminologists. We do the job sometimes of a social worker or just giving counseling, mediating those domestics. We're changing tires out there, being a mechanic. Yeah. So we wear a lot of hats as police officers, and it's all in a day's work. But it comes, again, it comes with the training. It comes with years of experience, with years of dedication, and that's what you get when you get a police officer. It's a lot more than a guy or a woman with a gun.
Yeah, I wish we had him on the show right now. To say that is so disrespectful. It's just a stranger with a gun. Folks would be very surprised to see the amount of work that goes into being a police officer here in Suffolk County. And we could echo that for Nassau in New York City, too, because we know so many of them and so on. We only have about 30 seconds left. You folks were involved in the primaries a little bit, trying to get the best candidates for the people of Suffolk County, correct?
Yes, yeah, and big shout out to all of my members that volunteered, Tom. We had over 400 members walking up in Smithtown, working for Sal Formica and Ed Wareheim. Sal Formica running for legislator up in the 13th district, former NYPD police officer. Ed Wareheim, Vietnam vet, served his country, helped revitalize Smithtown. Smithtown has always backed the blue, Tom, during that whole defund the police movement. They really stood strong while other people were ripping down blue line flags. They were out there defending us, and we're out there today defending them because it all came from the leadership of Ed Wareheim. That's where that back the blue spirit comes, and I'm very hopeful, and I ask your listeners, please, if you are a registered Republican up in Smithtown, get out there and vote.
Get out there and
vote. Formica, vote for Ed Wareheim in that primary today.
Good luck, and thank you so much to Lou Civello. Lou, we'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks, my friend. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, take some phone calls.